What an incredible Champions League knockout stage this has been, no? I'm Adrian, this is Rabona TV, and as you already know, we're going to be looking at all the highlights and lowlights from this week's Champions League action. If you like what you see, then consider subscribing. Other than that, let's do Roma hosting Barca first. Going into the second leg of Barcelona versus Roma, Barcelona had only conceded 3 goals. That was the fewest conceded by any team in the Champions League this season, so Roma needed to score as many goals as Barcelona had conceded so far. And things were actually looking good for Barcelona. Until the 6th minute, when Edin Dzeko collected a great through ball from Daniele De Rossi and managed to slip it past Ter Stegen. Great way to set the pace for the rest of the match, and that was his 6th Champions League goal of this season. Dzeko and De Rossi weren't finished having their say in this match, however, as Piqué hauled down Dzeko in the 56th minute, and the Roma captain smashed the penalty home, his first goal of this Champions League campaign. By the way, that was also his first assist in the Champions League earlier in the match, so it's safe to say he saved his top performance for this game. And that set the stage for an epic final 30 minutes, with Roma just needing to score once more to advance, while also having to stay focused defensively. And in the 82nd minute, they did it, dude. They f***ing did it. They scored 3 goals, which doubles the amount conceded by Barcelona throughout this tournament thus far. The team from the Eternal City has risen from the dead and dealt Barcelona a little bit of their own medicine from last season, not to mention rising from the dead, but what a change of fortunes for De Rossi and Manolas in particular, as they both scored an own goal in the first leg. And yeah, for the first time ever, the guys who scored an own goal in the first leg went on to score in the second. Kind of a lame stat, but a stat indeed. This was also only the 3rd time in Champions League history that a team has advanced after being down by 3 or more goals after the first leg. The first team to do so was Deportivo La Coruña in the 2003-2004 season against AC Milan, and the second was, of course, Barcelona against PSG last season. So this is a massive achievement, and it's time that we start taking Roma a little bit more seriously. After being in a group with Chelsea and Atletico Madrid, then facing a tricky Shakhtar squad, and then eliminating Barcelona, AS Roma have made the Stadio Olimpico an absolute fortress, as they haven't conceded a single goal there. They're the only team in the Champions League that hasn't conceded a goal at home. And this is the first time that they have made it to a Champions League semi-final. Well, during the Champions League era, back when it was called the European Cup, they made the semi-final in the 1983-84 season. So that's 34 years ago. Yeah. Honestly, this has been one of the most entertaining Champions League tournaments in a long time. How many times can I say that? It's just, it's fun. It's really fun to watch, honestly. And to the other big one from Tuesday, well, the only other one on Tuesday, Liverpool going to the Etihad to hold off a Manchester City side that is going through a bit of a rough patch at the moment, having lost 2 matches in a row, conceding 6 and scoring just twice. In the first leg, City didn't manage to have a single shot on target, but in this one, they couldn't have asked for a better start, as Raheem Sterling squared for Gabriel Jesus. That was Sterling's first assist against his former club Liverpool, as he has yet to score against them. Yet to beat them too. And for the rest of the half, City were cruising, completely dominating the ball possession, though there's no surprise there, and having the lion's share of the better chances. There was even a controversial moment where Sané scored, but it was given as offside because he was behind Loris Karius when he received the ball. Now, where it gets tricky, where it gets a little murky, is in regards to James Milner's touch on the ball before it got to Sané. If we consider Milner's attempt to play the ball as deliberate, then it should not have been given as offside and the goal should have stood. Does it look like a deliberate attempt to play the ball to you? It's a bit in between for me. It's half of just a random deflection and half of a reaction from Milner. So maybe it should have stood? I don't know. Have your say in the comments. Regardless, that could have been part of the reason as to why City players were so incensed by the all about me referee, Mr. Antonio Lahoz. That said, they were probably thinking that Mane should have received red. Poor guy was probably having PTSD, and Ederson was doing all that he could to not let him forget about the last time Mane was a little clumsy against City. So, Pep found himself kicked to the stands for yelling at the referee, and Klopp likely found himself telling his players to be patient and try to dictate the game a little more instead of inviting pressure. And 10 minutes into the second half, Liverpool looked like a completely different team, and a quick passing play between Mohamed Salah and Firmino found the Egyptian with the goal at his
mercy as he dinked the ball over Otamendi to put the tie almost out of reach for City. That was Salah's 8th Champions League goal and his 50th of the season across all competitions.
And if it wasn't out of reach then, 20 minutes later, Roberto Firmino, playing more on the wing in this match, put the final nail in the coffin for City as he placed the ball perfectly off the post and in. That was also his 8th goal of the Champions League campaign, as he and Salah have scored more goals in a single Champions League campaign than any other player in Liverpool's history. Also, speaking of goals and Liverpool, they have now scored 33 in this season's Champions League campaign, which is more than any other English club has managed to do. And on the defensive end of things, like Glitch42 said, Liverpool have only conceded once during the knockout stage of this campaign, so it's safe to say that there has been a massive improvement in their defense. And like Safwan Hossein said, this professional win showed that Liverpool is capable of parking the bus and weathering the storm a little bit when they have to. So for me, Liverpool more than deserve to go through, and I look forward to watching them some more because they're just so damn entertaining. For City, on the other hand, it's clear that Klopp has found the secret serum to defeating Pep Guardiola. Attack them. Go hard at their defense and they will crumble. Mourinho borrowed those tactics this past weekend and it worked like a charm. As soon as you sit back, you're asking for trouble from City. And speaking of Klopp, including shootouts, he has now beaten Pep Guardiola 8 times. The anti-Pep. Okay, let's quickly talk about Bayern versus Sevilla, where the Spanish visitors tried to claim the scalp of another big European team. It was always going to be tough for Sevilla though, as they needed not 1, but 2 goals, as one would only get them equal on aggregate, because Bayern scored 2 away goals. The first close chance of the game went to Bayern when James blazed a shot over the bar. This is the real James, by the way, not James Milner. And they continued to edge their opponents in the dangerous chances column. In fact, Sevilla didn't force Ulrich to make a single save in this match, though Correa did hit the crossbar in the 60th minute. That wasn't the only mark that Correa left on this match, pun intended, as he also got himself sent off in the dying embers of this game for stamping on Javi Martinez's ankle. I've never liked that, when a team is basically knocked out and they start stamping on people's ankles and end up going out like a douchebag. It's not a good look. So yeah, Sevilla's great run comes to an end and Bayern navigates this relatively comfortably, but you'd think that they would have had a bigger deficit in the goals column. No? Wouldn't you have hoped that if you were a Bayern fan? Anyways, that's Bayern's 100th Champions League clean sheet, and Heinz is getting close to yet another final. The last 3 times he competed in the Champions League, made the final every time, so he has a chance to make it for 4. Man, are you guys ready to talk about Real Madrid hosting Juventus? I hope you are, because here we go.
And it didn't take long for Juve to make their mark, with Mandzukic rising high to head home after Carvajal's failed attempt at a headed clearance. The goal came after just 76 seconds, or a minute and 16 seconds, which is the fastest goal Real Madrid have ever conceded at home in the Champions League. Then, Mandzukic became the second player in Juve's history to score a brace away to Real Madrid, as yet again, he rose above Dani Carvajal to put Juve within touching distance of tying it up. He scored 4 against Madrid in 5 starts.
Cut to the second half, and Juve is looking like the more likely team to advance, despite being down a goal, due to the momentum being in their favor and the fact that Mandzukic versus Carvajal was looking like a major mismatch. And there's always a chance of exploiting the 21-year-old Real Madrid centre-back Jesus Vallejo, who was filling in for Sergio Ramos with what was his first Champions League appearance. The teams traded chances back and forth again, but it was Juventus who scored next, with Keylor Navas making a mess of a simple cross collection which fell straight to the feet of Blaise Matuidi, 3-3, and the game is really on now. Overall, it stayed fairly even until the last 10-ish minutes when Madrid really started to pile on the pressure, with Asensio, Isco, Ronaldo, and Vasquez wreaking havoc. And it was those last 2, Ronaldo and Vasquez, that were responsible for winning Madrid a penalty in the 93rd, which I'll get to in a sec, I promise. Which Ronaldo, like the steel-faced assassin he has become in 2018, smashed into the top corner of Szczesny's goal. Yes, Szczesny, because Buffon was sent off for grabbing the referee and screaming in his face. I'll talk about that later too. That was Ronaldo's 10th goal against Juve, making him the first player to score 10 goals against a single opposition in Champions League history. He scored in all but 1 of the matches since last season's quarterfinals, having scored in the last 11 consecutively. Also, that was his 15th goal of this Champions League campaign and what was his 150th appearance in the competition and 120th goal overall. Insane. I love him as a player, but I do find him pretty cringy, to be honest with you. But again, as a player, top. So, the penalty. The ball is played across to Vasquez, and Benatia, rushing back because he was out of position, jumps and puts his hands on Vasquez to help better wrap his leg around his opponent to get to the ball. So here's how I personally break it down. And I'd like to hear what you guys think as well, so don't forget to let me know in the comment section, because we don't have to agree on this. We don't have to agree. I'm just stating my case. Did he make contact with the ball? I mean, maybe, but watching here again, you can see that Benatia made contact with Vasquez before he even made contact with the ball. And that is the part that matters. If that happened anywhere else on the field, it would be given as a free kick. It wasn't a question about Benatia's boot, and more of the hands and the knee on Vasquez's back. You can see when he makes contact because Vasquez sort of jolts forward. You can't make that movement naturally, at least not that convincingly. And looking at it more and more, especially from the broadcast angle, it looks like he didn't even touch the ball at all. There was contact from behind and Vasquez goes down. It's crazy because if this happened in the first half, there wouldn't be as much talk about it. Is it soft in quotation marks? I mean, sure, certainly softer than a blatant hack in the box that a player goes down for. But if you're the referee, within the laws of the game, a player goes through another player to attempt making contact with the ball, thus impeding the other player from a scoring opportunity in the box. That has to be given. Unfortunately, whether it's soft or not doesn't really have a bearing in this case. Now, Buffon getting sent off, I hate to see that. I really do hate that Gigi Buffon was sent off for something like this. I wish that Buffon had been on the pitch to have a shot at saving his team, and I wish all of these things because Buffon is a legend of the game, without a doubt, but he deserved to be sent off. You absolutely cannot touch a referee. You cannot grab a referee by the arm, and you certainly cannot grab them by the shoulder and get within 6 inches of their face while hurling abuse at them. You can't do that, man. And part of me wishes that the referee wouldn't have sent him off just based on his reputation. Buffon's reputation, of course, but you can't bend the rules like that, not for anybody. That's why I hate that he got sent off for something like this. Dissent, unsportsmanlike behavior, whatever you want to call it. It sucks, especially how it goes so in the face of Buffon and who he is as a player and a person. But I also found it super interesting that 12 years ago, in the World Cup final, another legend in the game had an outburst that got him sent off. That was the last that we saw of Zidane in his career, and I really hope that isn't the last time we see Buffon playing in the Champions League, even though it's seeming likely so. I feel bad for Juve because with the way they played over the 90 minutes, they 100% deserved to take this at least to extra time. Did they deserve to go through over 180 minutes of football? It's a little more unclear, but I don't prescribe to the Madrid being lucky to go through, as some are saying. It's as if they're forgetting the entirety of the first leg. Man, that game was crazy. That's a neutral fan's dream, and I guess a Real Madrid's fan as well. And we are still yet to see a match go to extra time in this edition of the Champions League. I love it. This season's knockout stage has been incredible, and I have nothing but sympathy for Juve fans as well. That's got to be so heart-wrenching to see your team pull off something as incredible as that, only to have it taken away in such a manner. You never forget what could have been when it's something like a last-minute penalty that gets you kicked out. Anyways, I just wanted to say another big thank you to all of the guys and gals that have been watching all of these matches with me in the watch-alongs. Aditer, Ilocos Metro, Mo the Mod, Vieira, Lundbanzi, Luri Teixeira, Mallory Norden, Hawkeye, Atif, Dave, Nossenheimer, the Joshes. There's so many, and I'm so sorry if I didn't say all of you. Thanks so much for joining me to analyze, criticize, meme-ize. And if you haven't joined for one of our watch-alongs yet, it's great, and you should do it. And subscribe if you're new. I'm Adrian, this is Rabona TV, almost at 10K! And I'll see you tomorrow for some Europa League news. Take care.